So this morning we've been talking about gardens, about seeds and soil and new life breaking through. And one of the quiet miracles of any garden is transformation. Not the loud kind, not the instant kind, but the kind that happens slowly, hidden and often unseen. In the Gospel of Easter morning, Mary stands in the garden, weeping. She's standing in a place where Jesus was buried, in a place where hope seemed to have ended. And when she turns and sees Jesus, she doesn't recognize him. She thinks he's the gardener. And maybe she's not wrong. Because Easter is not just about one life being restored, it is about God beginning something new in the entirety of creation. I'm reminded of this quote by Rachel Held Evans. "We are not spared death, but the power of death has been defeated. The grip of sin has been loosed. We are invited to share the victory, to follow the path of God back to life. We have become like seeds about to transform." And Paul said, "What you sow does not come to life until it dies." 1 Corinthians 15:36. Life to death, death to life. Like seeds, like soil, like stars. No wonder Mary Magdalene mistook the risen Jesus for a gardener. A new tree of life has broken through the soil and is stretching up towards the sun. Now, let me talk about caterpillars for a second, because something really wild happens inside a cocoon, and some of you might know this, but some of you might not. When a caterpillar goes into a cocoon, it doesn't just grow wings. Its whole entire body breaks down, actually breaks down. Scientists say it basically turns into a goo. Everything that made that caterpillar, the way it moved, the way it lived, dissolves. It's no longer what it was, and it's not yet what it will be. But here's the strange and beautiful part. Inside that goo, there are these tiny things called imaginal cells. And those cells actually hold the memory of what the caterpillar is meant to become. They carry the DNA patterns of wings, of flight, of something the caterpillar has never experienced and probably never imagined that it would experience. So even when everything looks like chaos, even when everything feels like it's fallen apart, there is still a thread of identity, a remembering, a quiet, persistent truth about what this creature is becoming. I wonder if the world felt a little bit like that on Holy Saturday. Everything breaking down, everything that people thought God was doing suddenly collapsing. Hope was dissolving, dreams dissolving, certainty dissolving. Everything was a little bit like goo. The disciples hiding and the world not making sense anymore. No longer what it was, but not yet what it would be. Just goo. And maybe if we're honest, there are moments when the world still feels a bit like that. When things fall apart, or when systems fail, or when grief or injustice or uncertainty make everything feel unrecognizable and unstable. Like we're living in the in-between. But Easter tells us this: God does not abandon creation in the goo. God is at work there, not fixing things back to how they were, but forming something new. And in the resurrection of Jesus, we see those imaginal cells. We see that those cells, that deep remembering has always been there. The memory of who we are meant to be, a people of love, a people of justice, a people who belong to one another, a people who live in right relationship with God and with each other and with the earth. Jesus doesn't just rise to prove that life continues, but he rises to show us what true life looks like. A life that has passed through death and is no longer bound by fear. A life that still carries wounds, but is not defined by them. A life that moves others towards peace. So when we find ourselves in those cocoon moments, when things feel uncertain, when we don't recognize the world around us, when we don't even quite recognize ourselves, Easter invites us to trust that the story isn't over. It invites us to trust that transformation is still happening, that even now there is something within us, something within the world, something placed there by God that remembers who we are meant to become. I wonder if you think, what are these imaginal cells in your own life today? Where is there a remembering of the person who you're meant to be? Maybe you felt this, that moment early in the morning when the sun begins to rise and you feel the first warmth of the light on your face. Or in the autumn months, my favorite, when we no longer hide from the sun, but we seek it out to enjoy it. It's gentle and quiet, but something in you recognizes it. Something is waking up. That's resurrection. Not always loud, not always obvious, but real. A turning towards life, a drawing towards light. And so we live as people of the garden, the beautiful garden that we've created here today, the garden that lives within each of us, the garden that we create as community. People who trust that seeds will grow even when they're buried. People who trust that life can emerge even when everything feels like it's falling apart. People who trust that God is at work in the soil, in the tomb, in the cocoon, and in us all. Because Christ is risen and the garden is awake.